accept the minutes of the May 13, 2026 meetings.
So move.
Second.
Moved in second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. We have the communication reports for the month of May 2026.
Just scroll down, bear with me, I got the sun right on this thing, so I'm trying to get it at an angle where I can see it. Alright, so I don't know any questions, let me know. We averaged 3.2 million gallons for the month. Had removal efficiencies for BOD of 98.4% and 98.9% of suspended solids. Effluent ammonia averaged 0.8. We were 58 count under the nitrogen permit, averaged 128 for the month. And the total effluent phosphorus was 2.2 milligrams a liter and 56.2 pounds. The biosolids were 22.6%, and we averaged an E. coli geomean of 2.1. We actually took a river sample too because we were curious because we were getting excellent numbers this month. So our E. coli Monday was 1 and the river was 66. And our turbidity was 1.1 and the river was 1.2. So when I tell the tours, I'm like, you're better off tubing in our outfall than it's true, right? It's not that we didn't know this, but we were very happy when we saw that because it confirmed it, right? But everything's been running pretty smooth.
How, you don't have much accuracy, I wouldn't think, of taking a river sample.
So we took a couple of different ones and averaged it. So we took it literally from the center and the top of the bridge.
You did. I was just that's the bridge you take it. Yeah.
And then from the sides, and then from like 20 feet in. So other than like an hourly sample, we got it from all the areas, and the ones from the side were, as we thought, higher because it's more stagnant, right?
Yeah.
The one in the river was lower, but it was still way above us. So the ones on the side were closer to 100, and I believe the one in the middle was like 40, and that's how we got the 66 average. So it was over a couple samples.
Well, the river is low. It's barely
Yeah.
moving. It's barely
You
moving.
can see our outfall like bubbling up too.
Oh yeah.
It's actually above the level of the river. There's maybe 4 feet in the center. It's not that deep.
And the water's crystal clear.
Yeah.
The water, yeah, because I've been looking at when I've been playing golf, and
it's clear.
You look down at it, it looks like
You
a
can
lake.
see all the way to the bottom.
Yeah, it looks like a lake.
So yeah, good numbers all around. And then for the operations report, Snowberry Pump Station, May 3rd, we had an alarm for a backup flow. We traced it back to just a power blip caused by thunderstorms. We also had pump 1 trip, but we reset it and ran okay. Yukon Pump Station, we'll go through this after, but I have a bunch of updates from the upgrade so far. So May 18th, we started, the wet well was all bypassed, put up Jersey barriers around the bypass pumps. We have 1 electric and 1 diesel pump. Each one will do about 3,000 gallons per minute. So 1 runs constantly. If that one fails, the second one comes on. I don't think there'd be a scenario where we would ever need 2 pumps. It would actually be more than the bypass connection could handle. I'll go over some pictures of that and what's going on there. Hybrid pump station, we approved the PLC and INC panel upgrade. So we're starting that this month. And that was what I was referring to last month, where if the PLC fails like it did 2 months ago, the ultrasonic transducer will take over level control. It just gives us more fail safes for emergencies. Patterson Park Pump Station, we had 1 VFD fault on pump 1. The weekend operator reset it. This was on a Saturday, cleared it. Everything was fine after. Tungus Pump Station, that same day, we had a ton of wind here. So Eversource was out repairing one of the lines. They had a tree fall down. Once they repaired it, we were back on utility power.
What you see in Greenwich there, where the American flag either snapped or
Yes, they got hung up in
in the power
in the power lines. They got hung up in the power
and they
lines.
got went from 5,000 people affected to like 30,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was quick.
So we were not gonna have any kind of trouble with our flagpole, right?
I hope not.
Well, hell, it's been up now for 30 years.
Yeah, hopefully nothing happens. Pump station upgrades and collection systems. We help with highway with the vac truck to vac storm drains. They're paving up on the Harlem Road area right now. May 8th, Motorola is on site to investigate RTU communication errors between Batterson Park Road and the plant. This has been like an ongoing issue over the years, nothing serious, but essentially most of our pump stations now are on radio control, which is an RTU. Any upgrade we do, such as like Yukon or Hyde Road, is cellular with the PLC like Allen Bradley. So the radio is good, but sometimes if you have like foliage coming in the spring, your antenna was a certain spot in the winter, the leaves will actually hinder the signal from getting to the next area. So we're looking at upgrading some of them. They seem to work better cellular around here than radio. Obviously, coming up the road from West Farms, you have all the topography, so we're always trying to get a little bit higher on some of our antennas to help with that. We vacked out the splash pad pit. That is up and running. We're actually just doing a voltage test on it Monday, and then it's 100% complete. We did fog inspections at Mangetsu's and Oli's Pizza. We went out with the Parks Department to look at the meat irrigation pump. The motor is actually arriving here tomorrow, and then the pump itself is coming in from, I believe it was Texas or whatnot. But we took out Industrial Pump and Valve, who's like a subcontractor, so they'll be able to handle that moving forward, because we've been doing the pump and the motor up until this date.
Mark.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about it recently, but does UConn have a fog program?
Yeah, so I think I'm the last one that went out there. UConn has, I think it was 5 or 6 different locations that we go out there, like they have like cafeterias, the restaurants, so we'll go to all of them in there. Jackson Labs had a separate one too. So they do have a fog program, and they're pretty good about maintaining everything.
So what you have to do at the splash pad,
So
Marks? I mean, it's all
I'll give you pictures next time.
it's all new.
Yeah, so the splash pad, our electrician was doing a lot of work in there just because he's kind of the town electrician too.
Yeah.
But essentially, what DEP wants or prefers is if you have a splash pad, when it's not running, you want to close the valve and it goes out to a swale to the river. Because if it's open, then it's going to the sewer and you're treating rainwater when the splash pad isn't open. So then when the splash pad's opens, we divert it to the sewer and then we treat whatever comes from the splash pad.
Mhm.
Obviously, if there's a raccoon sitting in the splash pad at night or a little Timmy does something and it goes down the drain, you want to treat it here, right? Not go to the river.
Mhm.
So we put in a valve pit with 2 valves and a center line. So basically you can divert it to the river or the swale or to the plant. And so NIC calibrated it, so there's literally a little PLC. So when the splash pad opens for the day, it automatically opens, just like a valve here. When the splash pad closes, it shuts off just on a timer.
Mhm.
And then it'll cycle the valves. I think we can go once a day, twice a day, once a month if we want, just so over the winter when it's not in use, the valves don't stick.
Now, does it automatically turn off when it rains?
They can, yeah, you can do it weather-based, you can do whatever you want. And the PLC is pretty much as much as you want it to be. But for something as simple as that, we're like 7 to 7, whatever the hours are, and then on weekends it might differ, so we just put in that schedule, and then let's say Labor Day to Memorial Day, we have an exercise twice a week, so the valve doesn't get stuck. And then that was our kind of responsibility. So it's probably one of the nicest setups in the state for a splash pad, but we can access it on SCADA and change any of the parameters.
So where do they get their water from?
For the splash pad, it's from I don't know if it's Plainville or MDC, but it's good. They have a 3-inch line coming in. So they have more water there than they're ever going to use. I think the splash pad only uses 2-inch. And then they put, I think it was like 16 pickleball courts in.
8.
8? Okay. They put a lot in. I know it was a huge pour. I forgot how many cubic yards it was, but and then I think they're doing Did Carol's Lunchbox go out there too?
No, just for temporary
Oh.
that they moved out for opening day.
What
But
do you
that
think?
was
It'd
it.
be permanent, Phil? You know?
They're still using it.
Yeah, my understanding is it's becoming permanent
Okay,
based
so
on.
maybe it is. I don't.
They still use it what?
Carol's Lunchbox.
Well, she's inside the clubhouse now.
Okay.
She's been inside the clubhouse now for 2 years.
I knew she moved from here.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But she's
Yeah.
gonna permanently be up there, right? I
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, she's been there. This is their second year. She and her
Okay.
cousin Mike Willits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a lot going on there last winter, but it's pretty much about done. Month of May, we jetted Basswood, Champlain, Deepwood, Tallwood, Taskers Pond, and Wildwood. I reached out to the HOA at Taskers Pond too, just to remind them to check all the alarms, because we commonly get once every couple of years an issue there where it backs up and then they call us because they think it's in the street, but it's the pump station. May 21st, we cambered a storm drain for highway on Cedar Ridge where they had a sinkhole.
I think it was today, Mark.
Yeah.
There was a vac truck over in the Highlands.
Yeah, they were out today the whole day, I think, so they're probably jetting.
So that's for our lines.
Yep. Yeah, because we try to do, in a perfect world, we'd get the whole town done in 4 to 5 years. Typically, it's usually around like 5 to 6, just because if it's under 30, we don't like to take it out because it can freeze, and if it's pouring out, obviously the guys aren't going to be out jetting if they're getting soaked. But we try to do about 20, 30 miles a year, sometimes 40. So that's a full-time gig in the summer. We got the delivery for the Headworks auger screw. This basically moves the screeners to the washer. It's critical because the way the PLC works is when the rags and the debris come into the plant, the bar screens rake them up. The auger pushes it in and then it's washed and it goes in the trash. If any one of those don't work, the PLC says the rest of the system can't work. So we have to have spares for all of it. We do have ways around it with kind of timers we put on and a bunch of other things, but if we can keep it going the way it should, it's much easier to work with. Swan completed annual HVAC maintenance at the plant, and we may have a possible coil leak on the condenser in the maintenance shop, but we'll know more shortly. The dissolved oxygen probes were cleaned and calibrated in the aeration tanks. We had a high temperature alarm in the transfer building on May 21st. All that is an HVAC issue where in the winter program, the heaters kick on, and in the summer the AC kicks on, but there's also louvers that can pull outside air in. Sometimes when it's those nights that are 40 and it's 80 in the day, the program gets thrown off, so we basically just reset it, and then we're back to normal. May 22nd, we changed the oil and fuel filters in the back on. Coolant was checked and topped off. May 26th, we are continuing I&I testing. So we did smoke testing in the areas of Meadow Road, which is in support of the testing for the area. This is ongoing, so we still have a couple days left. Plant management replaced the temperature control switch in the primary sampler. This is the lab samples for the lab. So when that goes, the condenser basically freezes up. So we just replaced it and it goes back to running fine. May 28th, we mowed the game fields for the game club. It only takes about 2 days. We typically do it at the end of May.
Mark, what's the game club?
So they pheasant hunt back in the mead. So
Okay.
if you go back,
That
this
area
gravel
back
road,
there?
yep, and then you take a left, you're probably another quarter or half a mile behind that gravel road, like all the way back. So I think it's every like June or so they release pheasants and they go back and hunt, but there's probably, I don't know, Kevin, what, 200 acres back there? There's a lot.
Well, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
We don't mow all of it, but they have like their fields that are mowed like twice a year, and that's where they basically hunt.
So what would we be involved? Mowing.
That was before my time. All I know is we've always mowed it, and it's like 2 days for us, so we mow it. It's not a big deal. It actually,
You just have a big brush hog, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't. I think we're the only ones that have the equipment in town that can do it. I mean, Highway might, but we're right here, so
If you find someone when you're doing the I&I
Yeah.
testing, do you knock on that house's door that day or do you notify them
typically
later?
what we do is I printed up like 180 flyers, because if you don't, and somebody has it, then there's smoke coming out through the house, and then they call the fire department, and the fire department shows up and nobody knows what's going on. So we told the fire police, handed them out in all the subdivisions, and then the next neighborhood we're doing next week, we'll hand them out one day.
Okay,
So they know what's going on. So typically, yeah, we'll tell them that day, or they come out screaming that there's smoke, and we explain to them what we're doing. It's rare in the newer areas. It's typically not a problem. It's the older ones that may have had a sump pump connected or a gutter or something. But yeah, we'll tell them and go over everything then. Mentioned before, we are under the nitrogen permit by 50 pounds. That is it for the month of
How's
May.
our new and improved relations with Avon there?
It's still going good. I mean, no issues. I actually met Tim Foster out there last month. Because they were putting in flow meters just to basically check and verify everything. The only comment we've got so far was the flows were as anticipated, which is what we thought. We had the flow meter calibrated last month. But I mean, they've been fine. It's
It's been dry, so
yeah, it's been off the top of my head, I want to say like 480 to 550,000 in that range. But it's a low period for the year.
were they considering doing some upgrades to that?
They were, we haven't seen it
I
yet.
haven't seen that.
And we did ask about 2 weeks ago. We did get the information back on the flow meters, but I haven't heard anything about lining projects or, epoxying the valves there or anything like that. Scroll down, we'll go over the lateral report, and then I'll go over some of the projects quickly. Alright, sewer lateral report. Dealers repairs, Farmington Avenue. Main Street, and then Dominique's Court, they just had a new fee paid on May 21st. As for upgrades, which I added this to the agenda, I'm just looking at this section. Reports, update, and discussion under the project and engineer report. So this was the Yukon, the old Yukon pump station. So that is one VFD you're looking at, which is about half the size of this wall here. And they went floor to ceiling.
How
So-
big's that drive, Mark?
75 horsepower.
It's not big.
Yeah. So the date on these were 2002, I believe, but some of the parts for it were from the late 90s, because even though the panels from them, some of the parts are older, right? Even in the new plant, some of the 2016 panels had 2013 parts. So these were like late 1990s parts. So the whole idea behind the upgrade was to kind of streamline all this, put new, more efficient VFDs in, a new touchscreen panel, which we didn't have because it wasn't around back then, and address some of the issues in the wet well you can see. So if you see like the dark areas where you have infiltration coming into the wet well, some of these are actually under the typical wet well level, so they're hard to find unless you drain the whole thing. So we're gonna epoxy the whole wet well. We're gonna basically address the inside, and you'll see when I go through the picture, some of it's already taken place. So this was one of the new drives. You can see that entire wall is almost bare because all the old ones are gone. So that new drive is smaller than this 75-inch television. So that's pulling out all the old piping. So we had discussed trying to save a little money on not doing the piping in the wet well, but trying to epoxy it. When we scroll down, you'll see, go to the bottom first.
What's left of it?
So this was what we discovered when we dug some of it up and looked in the wet well.
Wow.
So this is H2S. So basically that's ductile iron. It just corrodes it over time. I think it was 2012, the force main collapsed up on the jug handle. So this is what causes it, not in this picture, but it's hydrogen sulfide just eats away at it.
You're lucky you didn't have a.
If I had to guess, that's probably, you got 2 years left of pumping. if you're lucky,
Mhm.
and then that would be it. So at this point, this was like day 2 of the upgrade. Both us and the contractor were like, we're gonna have to do a change order, right? And nobody disagreed. We're on the same page as it. So we have a lot of equipment here, so we started digging in the wet well. There's 3 pumps. Phil had asked, the horsepower is 375 horse. So there's 3 discharge lines. The one on top on the left in orange you see is your pressure line. So there's a regulator on top that if you get a surge of pressure in your force main, it's your pressure relief basically. So that 6-inch line is your pressure relief. You can see us kind of digging to find discharge pipes because of course it never matches where the as-bills say they are. So here's your 3 lines. You have 1, 2, 3, and these are your pumps that are pumping out towards the street. So we expose them. We're going to replace them. If you can make out like a coupler right here, we're replacing them from the coupler back to the head of the pipe, which is the corroded portion
How many feet is that?
there. It's roughly like 16 feet. So this is basically what we dug out, like our crew did it.
So like the head.
This will all be replaced.
The flange there, is
Yeah.
that steel or is it?
This is all ductile iron. So we're putting in, they're called high max fittings. It basically gives you a little more play to move the pipe, probably a better coupler. And then we're basically just gonna cut where the couplers are, put the new section of pipe in, new 3/4 inch process, compact, probably wrap these in silt fence and then cover. But that will be done after it's online, just to test for leaks or anything. So this was the past 2 weeks. Their portion inside is pretty much complete. This is the 3 new drives. As you can see, the 1 drive is literally this corner. This is all 3. This is a new panel. The touchscreen will go here. Flow meter and pressure transducer. And this is just your intrinsic box. Is anything coming in the wet well, you need a barrier because of the H2S. This is almost done. So once we finish the outside portion, and these are the 2 bypass pumps. Once we finish this outside portion, we're going to put the rail system in for the pumps, epoxy the wet well, and we should be done. NIC and Flowtech will come out just for startup to verify everything, and then we'll be up and running. This was after we sandblasted the wet well, so that is also complete. So you can see all those areas where we had infiltration. It's kind of cleaned up, so we're going to inject it with hydraulic cement and epoxy over it.
So our crew would do the epoxy.
We were going to do the epoxy after seeing the condition of these. We're going to pay a company to come in and go like 250 mils, which I believe is a 1/4 of an inch thick, and then we get a 10 or 20 year warranty on it. So, and again, if this lasted 20 to 30 years, if you have the 20 to 30 on the epoxy, I mean, potentially you should be good for 50 years. So, and a lot of the stations we don't have this problem at, but with the H2S there, and this has been an issue here because it was on the jug handle coming through the Hillstead, we lined all of those manholes with epoxy. We figured spend the 50,000 now because it's $90,000 to bypass. So if we didn't do the epoxying now and we said, hey, we'll do it next year, we're going to spend 100,000 to bypass before we epoxy. So now is the time to do it. I don't have them online because there's so much to upload, but I do have a couple ones here for the other projects. So this is, we're going to discuss this one last, but this was the Patrick flood bypass we were looking at this summer. UConn, obviously, we kind of found a little bit more than we anticipated. So Patrick, we're probably going to push back to next year because with school starting in 8 weeks, right? Yeah, probably 10 weeks. Probably don't have enough time to fit it before school buses, and we don't want to basically jam everything up by urban routing. So that will be summer of 27. If you guys want to look through this, this is the West Farms upgrade. The date on it is 2023, but that's been tweaked since then. It's just not an official copy. So that is gonna be the station that's going between Fairview and Orchard. That will take off 120 feet ahead from West Farms, so that'll help with cavitation on the pumps. We can inject permanganate or bioxide there as well for odor control and some corrosion issues. And that's basically done, other than the final approval for planning and zoning.
You got any numbers yet, or?
I think when we did it, now again, this was, the initial one was probably like 18 months ago. We were around like 1.7, 1.5 in that range, so. There's stuff we could probably take off there, but I would say probably 1.5 to 2. Cause obviously nothing's got any cheaper recently, so.
No.
No.
And part of the reason why we did Yukon this way was because. We're basically PMing the job with the subs, so we're saving a substantial amount of money doing it. I mean, if we were to go out to bid for Yukon, something this magnitude, it's not a whole new station, but you'd easily be over $1 million. So. We're saving a good amount doing it and trying to address everything we can. And that's about it. We wanna go over the last thing after the meeting, Jim, and if anybody has any questions, either. Oh, good, okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
What's a muffin monster?
So that's, I'm gonna take a picture of that for you next meeting
It's like
too.
every time, it's like some new term that is just off the wall.
So
Muffin monster.
essentially, a muffin monster is a large grinder that basically, like when I tell you we get 2x4s into the plant or a piece of the curb, it will chew through it like nothing. So if you went to like the Boston plant, their muffin monster, you could drop your engine block into it and it would come out looking like Cheerios. So it would literally eat an engine block. So essentially all it does is when our bar rakes take all the debris out, which could be anything from jeans, 2x4s, 2 rocks, that goes on a conveyor belt, goes in the muffin monster, gets chewed up, and then we have a washer which cleans it so we can throw it into normal trash. All its basically purposes is protect anything downstream. Because if we didn't have that, 2x4 goes in the pump, the impeller gets wrecked, and then it's a lot of money.
Can we test it out?
The muffin monster or the not using it?
The Muffin Master.
Yeah, I can show you one day.
Okay.
So ours is probably like the size of one of these tables, but it'll pretty much eat whatever you put in it, right? And like I
So
said,
it's some kind, basically a grinder.
it's a huge grinder. There's tungsten carbide teeth, and it just basically just rotates. It's almost like it
Yeah.
looks like the inside of like a twin screw blower or something, right? And it just chews.
Yeah.
And so if that's not running, like I said before with the auger, it won't run the belts because it thinks it's gonna get backed up. If the belts don't run, the washer won't run. It's just this domino effect. So we have spare parts for everything and Christmas light timers that we can run on manual if we need to outsmart the PLC. So.
How about our mystery chemical? I mean,
So I talked to Russ about it. We're probably gonna end up putting in pH meters at Hyde and Yukon, and then 2 in the beginning of the plant to get the Unionville and the Farmington interceptor. So we're gonna get some inkling of what area it's coming from. Like I have my suspicions, but again, it's very hard because even if you sample every hour and you get a slug load and you miss it by 45 minutes, you're still kind of wondering, And I think last month we had something possible come in, not like we did the last time. And in my time in Farmington, I've seen it every couple of years. But again, we're gonna try to track something on it, but it is hard. It's hard. We've had samplers out there and we've caught a high pH, a high ammonia, a high COD, which is indicative of it. But from there, it's like you're waiting for it to happen another time, So.
all right, so we're ready officially to hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion.
Thanks, Keith.
Question.
Thank you.
Amen.
Aye.
All right.
Alright.
Okay.